Hey, we're at step 5 of the sequential evaluation process. Congratulations for getting through 1 through 4. Okay, this is where the burden of proof shifts away from the claimant. Thus far, the claimant has had to prove, um, each step along the way, produce. At the 5th step, the burden shifts over to the SSA. So remember, at the 4th step, you proved, in order to get to the 5th step, that you are unable to perform your past relevant work as that is defined by the SSA. So the 5th step comes after that, and the burden shifts to the SSA. And at that step, they are proving that there are other occupations that exist in substantial numbers in the economy that you could perform. There are ostensibly 12,000 occupations under consideration. You've probably heard the scuttlebutt in the news. It's something we've all known for years and years and years, but the media decided to let it be known out and about that the occupations, the book of occupations is so outdated, it's not even funny. I mean, I'm an old broad, and it was back when I was like a teenager. So yeah, I think there were some changes made maybe when I was in my 20s. But other than that, it was when I was a teenager. And can you imagine the 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 amount of change to occupations, how work is performed in our economies, what jobs are available, and how they are done, and who does them? It's mind-blowing. I can't even wrap my mind around it. I guess I would say I'm shocked that our federal government has not taken measures to keep this thing updated at least every, gosh, I would say 5 years. No, we're just gonna wait 40. And it's still not updated. So I don't get that whole thing. Not sure why that is. But anyway, step 5. They will be at this point, considering your age, so it's beyond just your RFC of the limitations imposed by your medical impairments. Now they can look at your age, education, and work experience to see if you could adjust to other work. Because remember, at step 4, you successfully established that you cannot do your prior work. Very important. Never stop at step 4, because this is the one where you have to prove the other 11,999 occupations. I'm saying that jokingly, but it is pretty voluminous. If they find that you can make an adjustment to other work, then you're not going to be found disabled. So you really have to, while it is their burden, you still always want to be, first of all, you're not going to know when they get from step 4 to step 5. That's kind of all internal. This is the steps they go through. You're not going to get word of anything until you get a denial or an award. So it's really important that you pursue all medical treatment throughout the entire time period of your claim, to always be getting evidence that's going to show that you can't do any of those other jobs. Capiche? You need to, keep those diagnoses updated. If your ability to walk or stand is reduced from, say, when you filed 8 months ago to now, there's worse things happening, you need to let the SSA know, because that is going to go far to help prove that you can't do any or all of those other occupations. And I do have a video out. Should probably update it. It's about treatment. It's about treating for big things and small things. When we talk about the RFC, yes, you have your exertional levels, but to knock out all of that basket of 12,000 occupations, think about occupations that, you're out because you have a really bad back. It's excruciating. You've had back surgery. Maybe it failed. All right. They might just say, really bad. We're gonna have to put that person down at a sedentary. They can only do sedentary work. Okay. Not necessarily disabled. There's plenty of sedentary jobs out there. But you add those other pieces, manipulative limitations that would be in your RFC as fingering, feeling, manual dexterity, handling, gripping, those kind of things. You need to pursue all those body parts that are not like they were when you were 20. If they are age deteriorating, that counts. Go get it worked up. Go get those diagnostics. Go to the specialist. I say this all the time to my people. I'm the biggest nag. I drive some of them absolutely bonkers. But this is what has to be done to get your case as close to provably disabled as possible. Because yeah, it's the onus is on the SSA to prove there are other jobs, but that doesn't mean that the onus is on them, on the SSA, to fight to prove that you are unable to do things. It's going to be based on the evidence from where you've treated. Yes, they send you to a consultative examination. Woo! Yes, they might send you for x-rays. X-rays generally tell squat. So the burden has shifted and they will produce those jobs. Unless, again, your evidence was so robust that they have to agree that you can't do any of those jobs full-time. Okay, so that is step 5. Can you adjust to other work? In other words, can you do any of those other occupations on a full-time basis? And those occupations don't have to be in your hometown. They don't have to be jobs available. They don't have to be, within your county. It's the regional or national economies. So long as they exist in substantial numbers, which is an ill-defined term, that's what they're going to be looking at. So you need to stay on top of it, regardless of what stage you think you might be at, and you're not going to know anyway. So you have to always be balls to the wall with your treatment and your diagnostics and your medical compliance. I know it's a pain. I know it's annoying. I just had a discussion and then a video on the fact that we have to sometimes go to doctors for treatment and follow-up for a condition they cannot even help us with, to develop the evidence to show how bad it is. We have to do in other areas of life too, but that's certainly one of them. So it's just the way evidence is built, and not just in the SSD world or the SSI world. So you're not alone in this field, but I know it's extremely inconvenient and sometimes expensive, and that can be really prohibitory if you don't have the funds. But that's another reason to always be pushing to get whatever health insurance you can get. Okay, my little tidbit on the end there is over. I'll let you guys go. That was step 5 of the sequential evaluation process. And you can find steps 1 through 4 under the playlist called Sequential Evaluation Process. Chat with you later. Bye, guys. Good morning. Okay, so we're talking about the sequential evaluation process for adults when you have a Social Security disability or SSI claim. Now, you are either perhaps have just watched one of the individual segments on one of the 5 steps, and this will be an overview of what all 5 steps are, just so you know at what place you're in. Or you're just coming here for the first time and you are just going to learn right here what the 5 steps are without the details attached to them. So I will try to connect all the other ones to this. So if you need to pop to number 3 and find more details about it, you can, or 4 or 5 or 1 or 2. Okay, so this is just going to be the rundown of the 5 steps and their names and what they are. Super quick. Okay, so when you first file a claim, the first step that the SSA has to determine is, are you working SGA? If you are working SGA, and that's a term of art, there are playlists on this channel about SGA. If you are not disabled. They stop and your case is over. You lose. If you are not performing SGA, the work level of SGA, so this would include people who have stopped working altogether, of course, you get to go to step 2. Step 2 is, do you have a severe medically determinable impairment? One could think of that as a severe diagnosis, perhaps, although I'm sure it's not exactly that, but an MDI would have to be diagnosed, and it has to be diagnosed in the medically acceptable manner. And all of that is through your medical records. So that's where all the medical boom, boom, boom treatment is really important to get to that point. If you do not have a severe medically determinable impairment, even if you have medically determinable impairments, because who doesn't at least have small ones, if you do not have a severe one, just one, you will be denied. Stop, you're out the door, the case is over. If you do have at least one severe MDI, you get to go to step 3. Step 3 looks at your severe MDI and all your other MDIs, severe and non-severe, although it would be a severe one that would have to lend itself to a yes here. Does it meet or equal a listing? They're referring to the Blue Book listings. You can find them at ssa.gov. And if it meets the details within the description of that listing, of that kind of impairment, you will, if yes, be found disabled at step 3. Game over. You're done in terms of you just won the hardest battle of proving that you're medically disabled. Then they would go on to anything non-medical, like, well, did you even have the insurance? Or if it's SSI, are you poor enough? That's at a different office. But the big hard battle that everyone fights sometimes for years on just ended for you if you meet or equal a listing at step 3. Step 4, this is, you go to step 4 if you're not found disabled at step 3. So that's a little switch, right? If you do not meet a listing, you before they go to step 4, they're going to find out what your RFC is. What is your residual functional capacity to work? And that is a whole term of art, and the details are pretty complicated. You go on to step 4 with that RFC assessment in hand, and the question is, can that person, despite those limitations, given his RFC assessment, is there other work? I'm sorry, can he do his past relevant work? Past relevant work is a term of art also. It's got some tests that it has to meet to be considered past relevant work. So you might want to look up that playlist for that. If he can do his prior relevant work, any of those jobs that fall within that category, not disabled. Boom, end of story. Your case loses at step 4. If step 4 finds it, nah, can't do his past relevant work, that is a little too arduous in one way or another, then you get the privilege of going to step 5. Step 5 is there any other work in the national or regional economy that this person can do? Work that exists in substantial numbers. If there is other work you can do of sufficient numbers, certain occupations, you are not disabled, you lose at step 5. That is a very common place to lose, as is step 4. If you cannot do any other work, they can't provide, and that burden is on them at this point, any other jobs you can do in sufficient numbers, then yes, you are disabled and you win at step 5. Okay, more details on 1 through 5, see at the end. I will put up I guess I'll put up a button for number 1. From number 1, you can see buttons for number 2. From 2, you can see a button for number 3. So they will go in sequential. If at the end you click on the button that should be in the upper corner there. Yeah, I think that's the only way I can really do it, but I hope it helps. All right. And if you have any questions, just leave them in comments and we'll talk about it later. All right. Bye.